People that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have.
The question isn't, can you handle the situation? The question is, can you handle your mind?
What changed? I changed. And I stopped being a victim. I stopped saying, I've got to wait for good things to happen to me. And I said, I'm going to grind. I'm going to fight. I'm going to work.
A lot of the hardest problems are so easy to solve. We just have to take those steps, which are hard.
I can do anything. I can do it.
Welcome to On the Rise. I talk about personal development, small business, and I interview entrepreneurs on the rise. My name is Nelson Stryker, and I am your host. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Real Nelson Stryker. And to my Level Up family, welcome back to the show. And tonight, I have a very special guest. I've known him for a very long time. He represents an incredible organization that I've been waiting at least 3 years to bring to you guys since I started the podcast. And he goes by the name of Walter Harris. He is an entrepreneur, the founder and executive director at Shilo, New Jersey, a New Jersey nonprofit organization. Mr. Walter Harris, welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you, Nelson. Thank you, Nelson, for having me. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. It's about time, man.
It's way overdue. Procrastination is real.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but we got to it, man.
Yes.
You know, it took a while, but we got to it. So, look, every show, I like to start out with a quote of the day. And then, you know, after I read the quote, you know, we just give our 2 cents on it, you know. And if you can connect with it, you can connect with it, you know. If not, it is what it is, right?
Right.
So this quote, actually, you're going to like the author very much. I'm sure you're going to probably know of him very well. He says, "Open your eyes, look within. Are you satisfied with the life you're living?" And that comes from Bob Marley. Okay, let me read it one more time. He says, "Open your eyes, look within. Are you satisfied with the life you're living?"
That's deep.
What do you think, man?
I think that's a very profound question, but that's like reflections and not looking back, but like, are you who you want to be? That's what it says to me. Are you who you want to be?
Right.
You know, like I prayed a lot when I was messed up for my purpose. So I feel like it's a declaration of like, you know, like, cause like, you know, the Rasta thing is real like self-empowerment, encouragement, and things like that. So,
right.
So I feel like that's a declaration, like it's a question to like almost like the Zen thing, like who am I?
Yeah.
That's the question. So
yeah, like 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 even the first 3 words, open your eyes. Like to me, that's like reflect. Like that's what hits me the most. Is like open your eyes, like realize what's happening in your life, and then he goes with the question: are you satisfied with that? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it makes you reflect on what's actually happening right now, and it's like, yo, am I really satisfied?
Yeah, that's like a daily question.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You need that inventory.
Yeah. So you know, and for people that are major goal setters, because you know, in personal development, when you first jump in, you know, setting goals is 101. It's like 101. That's like day one. Yeah. You know, you can't get into personal or professional development and skip goal setting. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Impossible.
You know what I mean? Like, in any personal development trainer I've ever read or watched or listened to, they talk about goals. Yeah. Right? So it's like, if you're somebody that has constant goals, how do you even feel comfortable being satisfied if you have all these goals? It's like, I'm not even halfway to where I want to go. Am I really satisfied? It's like, how can I?
Right.
You know, because you wanna achieve those goals, but if you're not, if all those goals aren't achieved, it's like, how can I be satisfied?
Yeah. I mean, you need a little discontentment You need a little discontentment in the tank, I believe, because without that discontentment, there's no willingness to change. Like you sign up. It's like you wake up to the Sims games every day. You see the guy in the corner, so you have to challenge that. And especially like in the work that I do, even just overcoming anything. If you want a goal to overcome poverty, you have to do the opposite of the people around you.
Right. Yep.
You know, so it's just.
All right. So, all right, folks. Nelson Stryker on the rise. I'm here with Walter Harris, the executive director at Shilo, New Jersey, and we are just about to jump into the questions. So, look, let's get into it, man. Let's start with your story, man. I know it. I know it's a lot. And I know you want to jump into Shilo and everything that's going on. But, for the people that don't know about you or don't know of you, I mean, look, we are in New Brunswick. I mean, this is where you've been. This is your stomping grounds, man. This is where you really put in your work, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Central Jersey. So for the people that don't know you, man, like, what could you tell them about your story, man? Like, where were you born in New Brunswick? Where were you born? Where'd you grow up at? Were you always in New Jersey?
Yes, I was a New Jersey bred child, but unfortunately and fortunately, I didn't know my birth parents, so I was adopted, and I grew up in a foster home in Helmetta, New Jersey, and that's how I came into contact with just sports, because like my father was a World War II veteran, meaning like born 1919. And there was no sitting around the house. There was no there was video games, but there was no sitting around the house year round. I was active in sports.
Yeah.
So that kept me. And then not only that, he was much older than everybody's parents. So it was like he said something. It had not just almost like that saying we just mentioned.
Yeah, the quote.
It had a meaning for whatever he was showing you or saying to you for a lifetime or for that moment, and it stuck with you if you reflected upon it. So from that, I ended up in Helmetta, and then from Helmetta, I had some athletic opportunities that went awry because I was going through things with this, not following my father, and just being a young guy going through puberty and trying to be independent. So I got kicked out of my house and ended up in the system. And mind you, I was a spoiled little suburban kid, didn't know anything, and I went to the system and I met people from the system, and I was like, I'm different. I'm a lot different. I have goals, and not saying people are not goal oriented, but their goals were different. You know, my goals was like, I want to go to college. I want to get a degree or something. Apologize.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just that those goals were ingrained in me, and all my friends and my peers were heading that direction. So there was no other way. So when I came to New Brunswick per se, it was the owner of the gym, the local gym was a Bulls gym in Spotswood, and everybody worked out there. And when I got kicked out my home right across the street from the gym, I went there, and she was like, "Oh no!" Called the shelter. I got a bed, and I went there, and I wasn't cool with rules. So I hopped out the window.
Wow.
And I got in. And people will say that like the street will turn you out. It was the opposite for me. I had so much like urban inside of me that I didn't know how to express in a suburb that I actually turned the streets out and went to jail. As soon as I turned 19, I went to jail. I didn't know what I was doing, trying to look cool, to have money to get to a motel, to get out of the elements.
Wow.
But in that whole society of things, I seen this weird reality. But I had to remember something. I was raised in a foster home where I seen all different type of diasporas of people, poverty, sick people going through drugs, people, whatever. So it didn't shock me.
Right.
And that's what gave me a different, a
Perspective,
determination. Yeah, a determination. So overcoming that, I came here. I went away for about 2 years. Got caught in school going with something I wasn't supposed to have. And I went away for 2 years into Mountain View Youth Correctional Facility because I did not, and this is talking to the system inequalities, because I didn't have housing. I had to come back right to the same shelter I was hopping out the window with.
Wow.
So I went to the soup kitchen because there was no shelter beds, and I started working. And mind you, when you're on the street, you're always walking.
Yeah.
God said, your feet are not walking anymore, son. and I had to sit down because I had my blisters on my feet so bad.
Wow.
And it's this weird kind of spiritual, but a lady came and does like Bible studies and sat me down. It's like, oh, what's going on? I know you, you're a good guy. Da, da, da. You could stay at my house. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, I know the guy at the shelter. Give me like a week or two. I could probably get you in. I'm like, stop playing with me.
Wow.
No problem. So, I helped her out, carried her stuff, started doing the Bible study thing and everything. Next thing you know, I'm in the shelter. Next thing you know, I'm volunteering. Next thing you know, I'm working at the temp agency. I'm not making a living wage, but it's something. It's something in my pocket. I'm learning the area. I'm learning, not to go out the window at 3 a.m. to go to the party. Save your money. So guess what? From that personal development, 6 months later, I'm in my own apartment. Then the other trick comes, which is, once you make it up to that goal, there'll be other soul distractions.
Right.
So the soul distraction at the time was like a woman. And that woman, the woman,
always, man.
I'm not going to blame her. I'm going to make my own decisions here. But I ended up saying, you know what? I'm going to leave this place and try to do a venture with you. And that venture didn't end up right. She went back to her mom's house. I went to the streets, and went to another lady. Thank the Lord. My child was born. I got a little more stability. I got like Social Security because I was a ward of the court. Yeah. And as a ward of the court, my parents were still receiving like money from DIFAS for me.
Wow, that's
so
crazy.
I got that because I was going to school. I got that almost till I was 22. So I got a little check every month, and I got housing. I met another woman. Everything was cool, and my child was born. But throughout this whole time, I'm always encountering people on the streets. And then even when I got like, that wasn't even me getting stable. That was me finding like temporary housing. So for let's say from 2003, when I came out of Spotswood or Helmetta area, all the way to 2013, over 10 years, I was in the streets. And it was maybe the longest I stayed somewhere was 6 months. And all it took was me encountering different people that reinstalled. Because if you look at all these statistics about stuff, it says, job retention is the number one thing to stop you from homelessness. That's true. But if you're not determined to keep that job, because they're not telling you what obstacles are before you. So if I'm homeless starting the job compared to mommy sleeping in mommy's couch, compared to I'm sharing a big room with my friend, those are all different starting points for that person to get that job retention. So I started
to keep the job.
Yeah, to keep the job. So I met an old 73-year-old man, nothing special, but his father was a guy who created some windows. So he grew up with money.
Like a window company.
Yeah. Point was, he installed in me when I was homeless on the streets. Like, you're not gonna be hanging around trying to sell drugs and going to prison. Yeah. You want to support your child? Okay, I'm gonna pay you $10 an hour. You can do this contracting work with me, mixing cement, hard labor, climbing a ladder, all this stuff. And low key, he was a martial artist dude.
So so that's how you got into martial arts.
Right. So that's one of them. But he started teaching me kung fu, and his best friend, his youngest son, was the guy who gave me the tattoo on my neck. And that was, he killed himself. It was 4th of July. So to honor him and to honor this guy, I learned the martial arts for him because his son never learned. Wow. But the moral of this is that it wasn't even about the martial arts. It was like when I go to the store at Target, if you're smiling and saying, how was your day, and things like that, compared to, yo, hurry up, lady, you're taking too long, you're going to get a different response. Exactly. So he taught me these little etiquettes where those things helped me down the road. Like, okay, you know what? I want you to come back tomorrow. Why? Because I smiled and I maybe helped the lady with her box to the car. Right. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So those little life lessons taught me certain things. And from that, I saved my money. I made a couple right decisions in the midst of chaos. And I got Section 8 low-income housing. Yeah. Right? So I'm not like all the way there yet, but I have my sense of stability where I can function. Right. And then, go ahead.
But the thing is, though, throughout all that, you were able to actually learn what people were trying to teach you and how they were trying to help you. And there's a lot of kids out there who you can try and help them as much as you possibly can, but they won't catch your help at all. No. Right? Yeah. And that is the saddest thing. And then when you hear about them passing away, it's like, wow, man, like, it just really makes you think because I mean, look, you could be hard-headed, as hard-headed as you want, but, when you get thrown out, you're in the streets, you don't have nobody, and someone's trying to help you out, man. you know, it's not even just even about what you could take from somebody else, but what you could learn.
Yeah.
And you were able to do that. So look, let's just jump to a commercial break. We got to pay the bills. All right, we got to pay the bills. We'll be right back, folks. All right, and we're back. Nelson Stryker on the rise. I'm here with the executive director at Shilo, New Jersey, Mr. Walter Harris. Well, how you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm good.
Feeling good, man?
Blessed, highly favored.
All right, so look, man, let's jump right back into the questions. So when did you first realize your life was changed and you weren't going back to how you were?
Say 2015, signing like my lease application, like with Human Services.
Okay.
And in that moment, like the first day, like the first like month or so I was there, it was just like, it was different because like, I cried like when I had the heat on so high that I was too hot, so I had to turn it down. I'm like, wow, it's beautiful coming from where I came from, sleeping under Hickman Hall at Rutgers, you know what I'm saying, with a vent kicking out, like that was blessed. Or the air conditioner where it was like, it was too cold, so I had to turn it down, and I cried, you know. And then looking at like what I'm doing, I'm going on church trips with like the Church World Services and to like refugee resettlements, and I'm going for National Hunger Relief Days in DC. And like I'm looking around me, and my friends and my colleagues now are like rabbis and pastors and imam and all the, you know, it was different. It was different. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, I mean, you know, when you get into trouble, and this is going to be tough, because when you did go through that phase, I remember, I think you sent me a text. I think you either sent me a text, or did you call me? But you told me that you were locked up with my father. I was like, wait a minute, what?
Looking at your clippings, I'm like, yo, that's my little man. Like,
so tell me, cause we never really got a chance to talk about it, and it's been a long time. Yeah. You know what I mean? So can you remember that?
Of course. Yeah,
tell me a little bit about that. How did that happen?
Well, as we're getting our breakfast trays in the morning and walking up those giant steps and getting our little chicory and whatnot, you know, like you were his pride and joy. So it was just like, he's like, you went to Spotswood High? So as soon as I was at Spotswood High, it was a rap. He's like, you know my son? I was like, yeah, I know your son. Like, da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I can't believe that's your dad. Like,
yeah, but how did the conversation start? Did you guys already know each other?
No, we didn't know. We didn't know.
Yeah.
There was some other kid in there. We were playing basketball and stuff like that. He was talking about like old football or whatever. And I was like, yo, I was responsible how we murdered y'all. Y'all was trash. You couldn't see us. I averaged like 7.2 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And it started from there. And your dad was like in the weight room listening. And he was like, oh, you go to Spotswood? And I was like, yeah. And then we went upstairs. We got the clip. He had like, you know, like when you lay in your bunk, under your bunk, you have the picture. So he had the clippings up under his bunk, just chilling up with you and the stats and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, Coach Ferraro and all these people still. Yeah. You know, so it brought us right back. You know how small Spotswood is. So once he said that, and Stryker, just the last name stuck out. Right.
Yeah.
So that was that. And then we just started, you know, talking and chilling. You know, he preparing me for where I was going on my next, you know.
Yeah, so he was helping you out. He was giving you advice and shit.
Yeah, like jailing. They call it like jailing. Yeah. And then and then after that, we would see each other like in passing sometimes at the soup kitchen, and we would chill and stuff like that. So he was always on the move. You know, he's always on that bike.
He was, man.
Yeah, but he was no joke. You know what I mean? For you to exist out here in these streets by yourself, like he had no partners. There was no friend. You know, he had a couple people associates, but that's how you keep associates, and that's personal development.
Yeah,
that
for
you
real.
learn. That's an acquired skill. So he was blessed with life experience. So that life experience that I learned from him, it was reflected on the streets because he carried himself in that manner.
Yeah.
You know, so
wow, that's special,
love.
man.
It was love. It was much love.
That's special, man. Yeah. And I had to ask you about that because we never got a chance to really talk about it, man. But all right, so I guess the next thing is, because you know, I know you had that point of reflection when you got into, you know, that first apartment, you know, and I guess you could call it almost like an epiphany, right?
Yeah.
that your life is different now. You know, things have changed and it's physical. You could touch it, you could feel it, right? But you are no longer homeless anymore. You weren't on the street no more. So, what do you think the biggest obstacle was coming out of the streets? What was the hardest thing? What was the biggest obstacle you think you had to climb to get to that point?
For clarity, there's no one causation for like homelessness. It's like a multi-layered thing. But for me, the problem was me. So like I said, I had to change myself. It would be like, I'm working for this guy I mentioned, aforementioned, like Roger or whatever. It's like train yourself to save money. Okay, so if I know that I'm gonna go make $80 for the day, I'm gonna save like $5.75 and put it in my sock and hide it, so I can make it back to him for the next day. And not only that, it became an escape. So it's just that rectifying your normal behavior pattern.
Right.
But like you're saying, it's gonna take you either for you to wake yourself up, like when you open those eyes and you wake up, or it's gonna take a constant, like someone poking at you, which your biggest enemy 5 years later is gonna be your best friend. It's gonna be your best friend, and it's gonna take you to personally grow and develop to acknowledge that. So I could say a lot of my personal enemies are my best friends right now.
Wow.
You know, that's the only way I can kind of put it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for, you know, people from the outside looking in, what do you think is the most, you know, common misconception people might have about being homeless?
The mental illness and the addiction. The mental illness and addiction. Like, not everybody's mentally ill and addicted. Like you constantly have to get up at 5 a.m. will change you. Like when your natural response is hearing jingling of the keys, and that's your automatic response to wake up, that's gonna change you. You know what I mean? If you're hustled to eat your food every day, it's gonna change you. So that reformatory street thing is like that whole thing, that misconception right there, that mental illness and all those things. So it's just like, see the human.
Right.
You know, look at the human. Don't look at where they at. Look at the person.
Okay. And at what point did you realize that this was your calling? Like, this is something that you really need to dedicate your life to?
I would say in 2009. In 2009, I was introduced and brought into the fact that I was like with the county. We had an emergency by the river here in New Brunswick, so they brought in like the county, FEMA, and all these Catholic charities. And I was already volunteering, like I said, at Elijah Promise, but they gave me more experience. Like, I was working with people that had immunodeficiencies and doing like referrals on paperwork. I was in the college active and doing AmeriCorps. So I seen that and I was like, wow. And I got I got to see my skill set of learning people and talking to them.
Social skills.
I learned how to like motivationally interview folks, but in a happening that it was motivating them past their obstacles. And I had no idea. And at the same time, I was healing myself, because while I was running this shelter, I was in the shelter myself. And my mentors were like executive directors and things like that.
Right.
And it, like I said, I had to acknowledge that, okay, when it's over at 5 o'clock, you're gonna go back outside and you're still with the people. So it's just that changed me. I was like, wow, like I'm not boosting from a store. I'm not selling drugs. Like, oh my God, I just helped somebody, drove him to the store and got some food for him, and like advocated on his behalf. And I felt good. And then replicating that still no, is that I also was like, that was re-examining, because I was questioning, like, should I still do this type of work? Is another emergency happened, and I started to run the shelter, and we were able to like literally alleviate a lot of folks and change the law. So when I started to change the law, and then I seen people that, you know, other agencies stepped it up, and they're still in a situation. Like, I stepped to, there's a woman to this day that I did one interview with her, and as soon as I took the interview, she immediately got housing, and now to this day, she's like, oh, you're my angel, you're my angel, my angel.
Wow.
You know, and it's just how I did it in a personal, you know, like, I can relate to you manner.
Wow, that's special, man.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Listen, we're going to take another break. We got to pay the bills, and we'll be right back. All right, and we're back. Nelson Stryker on the Rise. I am here with Walter Harris. He is the executive director at Shilo, New Jersey. Walter, how you feeling, man?
I'm good. I'm blessed. Thank you.
Yeah?
Yes.
This is the last round, and we're getting ready to wrap up the show. All right, but of course, we got to talk about Shilo.
Very true.
Right? And for those of you on the podcast, he's got this bright white and blue Shilo hoodie on. It's so dope. There might be a link in the show notes for you guys to go get one and donate, to the cause. So, look, let's get into it. So what is Shilo, New Jersey, man?
Shilo, New Jersey means supporting the homeless, innovatively loving others. In Shilo, New Jersey, we are based off of 3 trees, which is like hunger relief, human service, and public health. And Shilo is an innovative way. It's not the norm, like, oh, here's some food and clothing and goodbye. It's more of a human rights centered, and as we all know, like, I was personally impacted by homelessness. So it's more of like it's catered to the homeless, as our website says, and it's more case specific. We go to that individual, we do that extra mile and more intensive with certain things, and we get support. So like our symbol is a wrap around, like, wrap around hands, almost like you're getting a hug,
Right.
by our organization,
Right.
So that's what Shilo is.
And it's and the thing is, you don't even know. So in social services, we have something called the wraparound model. And what the philosophy behind that is, it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Absolutely.
So for every family that we work with, it's our job to surround that youth and family with wraparound services. So, it could be, like you said, like a pastor in the community. It could be a coach, aunts, uncles,
Can I give you an example?
a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a mentor, a case manager, right? So we surround that youth and family with, those providers.
Yeah.
So it's actually in line with what youth and family services does, and you didn't even do that on purpose.
No.
Right.
So I'm used to experiencing, and that's what you want.
Right.
It's like an intervention for an individual. So I was saying with housing, we literally brought legal services to someone because they just got off the streets, and then they broke a key in their door and they thought they was going to be evicted. But there's laws in place that protected that individual. And we brought those laws to that person and gave him the wraparound services. And he went back with courage, like, you can't do anything to me.
Wow.
And gave him a whole nother year in that location.
Wow. Okay. So I guess talk a little bit about, what you guys are doing, because obviously you guys are in the community. New Brunswick is home base.
Yeah.
I mean, do you guys have plans? Because obviously there's homelessness in many more communities in New Jersey. So what are you guys doing right now in the community?
Well, right now there's like a bi-weekly outreach, and that's suited in Remsen and like Lee area, like these 3 main blocks that allegedly don't exist on our city map, as well as the origin of that was starting at the train station, because when I went to the train station, there was no way to get into the elevator because people were sleeping there, and they also was no way to go to. They literally shut down. They sealed the window up in a Dunkin' Donuts because people were sleeping in the open area to just stay warm.
Wow.
And then before that, people were sleeping upstairs in the train station. So these inequalities, we try to advocate for and push forward. So our up and coming things is more so we're moving into we want to move towards a midnight run. We're looking for physical office space and more worthy partnerships to kind of get and acquire like something for our ultimate overreaching goal, which would be like a year-round emergency shelter community center type thing.
Okay.
So that's what we're moving towards. And we welcome, we want also like a different style of just hospital dumping. We fight against a lot of hospital dumping. So, we're moving towards like a medical respite.
Okay.
And one of my friends can actually, give more definition towards that.
Oh, nice. Okay. So speaking of one of your friends, I know you got one of your, executive team members here in the house right now.
Yes, he is our director of public health.
Okay. All right. So let's bring him in. And I guess because I want to talk about the pandemic, as well, right? But we got your executive team member. You say he's the director of public health. Okay. How you doing, sir? Good. All right. Come on in. Thank you. All right. Can you hear yourself in the headphones yet? If you talking to the, can you talking to the mic?
I do.
Just make sure you hear yourself.
Yep.
How about now?
Perfect.
You're
Even
good?
better, yeah.
All right, man. So tell us your name. Tell us where you're coming from. What do you do for Shilo?
Man, my name is Mohammed Atia. I'm the VP and Director of Public Health for Shilo.
Okay.
Been going at it for over 5 years.
Wow, man.
And, we say, public health, but, we're not just talking about just health, right? Essentially what we do is we assess.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So public health is not just, come see a health professional, what are your problems? Public health is essentially assessing what's going on in your life.
Okay.
We created what's called a housing barriers assessment, which is essentially, hey, what's your story? What's going on? What are your problems? And how can we help you? What are the barriers to get you to where you need to be so you're no longer homeless, or so you could get a job,
right?
Or where you want to be in life. And that's essentially what the public health tree does.
Wow, that's amazing, man. And that kind of piggybacks off what we were talking about earlier with goal setting, because even though you're also problem solving, with, individuals, right? But you're also setting, valuable goals for them during these assessments, right?
Right.
And I think that's something that even people who aren't homeless, right, fail to do. Right? I mean, you could have somebody who's got a great job, just totally busy, and they're so busy they never assess anything. Right? And they get lost, and all of a sudden they wonder why they're slipping up on their bills, and they can't find time for anything, and they complain, and then they start having health problems. But it's like, how do you expect to be healthy and continue to do well if you never assess what's going on? Right. So, all right. So what's really next for Shilo? I mean, what are you guys ultimately trying to do right now? And, it's the first quarter, brand new year, I guess, Walter, what are you guys trying to do now?
I want that office space. We really need to be and have a face in the city. There needs to be an outpost for us, for someone to, to reach out and tangibly touch Shilo, and I feel like that would be, that's everything.
Right.
So that's what we're moving towards. I mean, low key, I didn't mention before, with one of our other partners, New Jersey Harm Reduction, which is like the opioid crisis.
Oh man, yeah.
We're moving. I'm moving, like looking at trying to disguise a thrift store. I haven't even talked about this yet, but like creating a thrift store, but like in the back, it's like some exchange stuff going on. Maybe a pop-up shower place to do your laundry. Because there's a lot of politics in trying to get a building to house people and have them there all the time. So I can kind of meet that in the middle with something that will actually give us some revenue, give other people jobs, and also meet the social need.
Okay. And so I guess, Muhammad, in the public health side of things, what do you foresee, I guess by the end of the first quarter?
Right. What's crazy is we have solutions for this homeless problem. They exist, right? They might not exist in this country for a lot of reasons. We could go beyond that.
Yeah.
But we've definitely seen these kind of examples overseas where it's almost like a one-stop shop for all of your problems and all of your needs. So essentially, like he said, a space where it's one-stop shopping. You have your health needs taken care of. You have your barrier assessments taken care of. You have your social services taken care of. You have your basic needs taken care of. Essentially, one space to do all of that to get you to where you need to be in life.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's what it is. And hopefully, when we get this space, and I really think we can get this space this quarter, we can expand that, make it a state model, and hopefully make it a national model.
Yeah.
And, ease this problem we call homelessness.
Yeah, that'll be incredible, man. And as far as New Brunswick is concerned, because I think from where you guys are at right now, and I took a look at the website, joinshilo.org, right?
That's correct.
Joinshilo.org, great website. You guys can go there. Donation box is right there. I think you can do a custom donation too. So I think you can do more than 50, but I think it's what, 5, 10, 15.
Yeah, you can keep them going.
5, 10, 15, 25, and I think and then 50, right? Something like that. But you could donate more than that. But I think the way you guys have it set up is innovative, right? And that's why I love the Shilo name, because you guys are actually doing something innovative, right? And different. And I really appreciate how you guys are doing that. So I think you guys will be able to, lock down New Brunswick.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess the next question would be, when do you feel you would be comfortable moving into other cities? Like, I know, doesn't Jersey City have a really bad homelessness?
Newark.
Or Newark does? Or is it Hoboken? I know one of those two.
Not Hoboken, Jersey City. A little bit of Jersey, but mostly Newark. Newark has, honestly, essentially wherever a hub is. New Brunswick is a hub. We got like two train stations over here.
Yeah.
So you're usually gonna find homeless people wherever there's a train station, where there's like a lot of public transportation.
Yeah.
And that's almost a lot of cities in New Jersey. But yeah, that's where we plan to go next.
Newark. Okay. And and what's interesting is I've done a lot of cases in Newark, so I've seen how it looks out there, and now they have so much building going on. They're building all these new housing communities, but they're luxury. So I'm just like, like when are they gonna do something about the homelessness issue there?
Well, that's true. Like, we inform the homeless. So, like, we can empower, like, even if you're still on the streets, I brought the homeless to the city council meeting. So there's nothing saying we can't bring the homeless. Like, informing the homeless of what's going on, but bringing them also to the people in power that's taking away their own rights. Like, if they left their bag in front of the library, they can't touch their bag. They have the right to free travel and not no one to mess with their possessions. It's a federal right. So we have a lot of rocks to, a lot of bridges to cross. Yeah. But like, we've also have like on other partners like Surge. Surge, they initially started us when we were low, like in our volunteer, and they started in Trenton. So we would do a breakfast out here. They would do a breakfast in Trenton. So I would go out and do my social services in Trenton, and I had a background working Catholic Charities and human service out there. Right. So it's just like you said, you learn to address the need. And then when I was able to like work with the Poor People's Campaign and get national with like the National Union of Homelessness, I seen that like other homeless models that they were using like journals. So even if we can't physically be there, there's ways for us to communicate across sectors, across different county lines to kind of to get there. So I mean, I look like in the future us even joining the National Union of Homelessness to just be part of that chapter. Yeah, that'd be incredible. And, man. So just want to be legitimized and then address this need, because this can be solved. It's just kind of like leveraging the humanity of homelessness. Right. Not just looking at its problem, but looking at it from a humanistic standpoint. Right.
Yeah. Okay, so the last question is, man, is there anybody that influenced you to do any of this, man? Is there anybody that you look to for inspiration?
Yes. It's funny, but it's a very, very strong woman named Lizanne, a Reverend Dr. Lizanne Finston, who was the former creator and founder, director of Elijah Promise. That was one of my huge influences, because she was like, she gave me this paperwork a long time ago. It was like, you got it. Because she seen that her own staff was like getting against me. It wasn't because I was a problem, it was just because I was good at what I was doing. Right. So shout out to Lizanne. Shout out to Roger, that gentleman I was talking about before. Like when I was telling my story, Roger really pushed me and influenced me to kind of work hard. Because like if a 75-year-old man can get up every day and go to work and do this and whatnot, like I have no choice but like to put an honest effort in. So those are some of my mentors.
Amen to that, man. And then just in closing, I just want to let you know how much I appreciate what you're doing, man. And I've always had your back. I always supported you throughout everything. And it's very personal, not only because I've known you for so long, but, when I was a kid and my dad couldn't pay the bills, my mom couldn't pay the bills, we lived on the street. Right. You know what I mean? I was homeless, and my father struggled with, drug abuse. since he was like 24.
Yeah.
You know, and when he passed away in 2020, you know, fentanyl hit, I think it was like, what did they say, 95,000 people
Biggest cause of death right now.
From May 2020 to May 2021, 95,000 people, I believe, overdosed from, you know, some sort of overdose. But fentanyl was like one of the biggest ones.
It's ugly, man. It's ugly.
You know, and I know if he was still here, you know, he would have definitely helped you out in Newark because that's where he was at.
He would have the hoodie on.
You know,
Like,
he would definitely put the hoodie on.
We give him an electric bike, though. We give him an electric bike. He would be the
Word.
street for real.
He would have appreciated
Straight up
that.
and down.
And I know that deep down in my heart, man. And that's why I really love what you're doing and how much you've stuck to this and you didn't give up, man. Because you could have let this go a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you know, you kept pushing forward throughout everything that came at you, man. You know, even some of those sticky situations that you were blessed to get out of, you stuck with it, man. So I really appreciate you, man. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. All right. So to my Level Up family, thank you for watching. And to those of you on the podcast, thanks for listening to On the Rise. Subscribe, leave us a rating or a review so you don't miss any level ups from the show. And again, let's thank our guest, Mr. Walter Harris, the executive director at Shilo, New Jersey. And shout out to Muhammad for coming on the show as well. And we wish them the best in what they're doing, folks. You guys have a good one. Take care.